Hello everyone, X-Walk Hill Beth Alive here. And I've been a little MIA for a while, and that's because I've been dealing with uh, police and aggressive policing. Basically, aggressive policing, in my opinion, would be when they're instigating interactions with people who aren't even breaking the law. Like, for example, I'm driving my car down the road and a police officer switches lanes to get behind my car to probably run my plates. That's fine. I'm going about my business, not breaking any traffic laws, not intoxicated, of course, not speeding. Got all my documents for my car, my driver's license. Law-abiding citizen traveling down the road. Well, this police officer decides it don't matter if you ain't broke no laws. It don't matter if you haven't broken any traffic guidelines. It don't matter if you're doing anything wrong at all. I feel like pulling you over because you're black and you're just suspicious, right? So he pulls me over, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I'm just like, I know I wasn't speeding. I know I wasn't doing anything. So let's hear what his excuse is for pulling me over forcibly out of nowhere. I pull over, he comes around, asks for my documentation. I give him my driver's license and my insurance card. So what's this about? Well, I noticed that your car is a different color than it was originally. I'm like, okay, what law is this? What law? Yeah, I painted it. It actually was a different color than what it originally was when I got the car. So the question then was, well, what law? What law was broken? Well, he said there is no law against painting your car a different color. He just thinks that it's a possibility that a car gets painted a different color could be because the car was stolen and the car thief is trying to hide what the car originally looked like. I said, that's a jump. So you mean to tell me you did not have any cause stating that there was a car of the make, year, and model of mine that was stolen that you were looking for? You weren't looking for that particular car. You just got behind me and just needed a reason to pull me over to see if I had anything in the car. This is what I mean. Cops are out looking to just if there's no crime going on, then they'll pull you over anyway. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to fill out my complaint for that cop having me open my door and all kinds of stuff. We know what was going on. He didn't pull me over because my car was painted a different color. Cops aren't driving around the whole state of Texas pulling over everybody that has a different color painted on the car. It's because I was black and the car was a different color. And in their minds, that equals a car thief. So I'm going to fill out my, formal complaint to tell these people that if a person is not breaking the law and they're going about their business, you don't have a right because you have a badge to go and pester them and bother them and pull them over to go look for something to see if you can find a reason to take them to jail. So yeah, that's why I've been MIA for a while, dealing with that and talking to his supervisor, one of the supervisors, who the supervisor that I spoke to, he ain't no brighter. He thinks, well, yeah, if a car is painted a different color, More likely than not, it's stolen. So you got to pull them all over because they were painted. Like, you guys are pulling people over for paint. You ain't got nothing better to do. Like, that's why I've been gone for a while, and I'm still dealing with that mess because I've moved to a more black area, right? So of course, cops just looking for reason to pull people over to try to find stuff around here. But what I originally wanted to talk about with Jehovah's Witnesses is a lot of people are staying home watching the meeting on Zoom, and I mean more people than what I originally thought, right? Because, see, here's the issue, and the issue is this, that once Jehovah's Witnesses finally started meeting again at the hall, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, large numbers are going to show up because they haven't been able to do it in so long. So large numbers of people are going to show up because they want to see each other, and that does not seem to be the case. The largest number of people attending the meetings, right? When you think about COVID, well, that would be when Jehovah's Witnesses first open up the hall, because that's when it's a big thing. Wow, they open up the halls. Right? So that's when you would think you have your largest numbers of Jehovah's Witnesses attending. But in reality, you got like half of some congregations watching the meeting on Zoom. So this presents a few problems for Watchtower, and one of those problems is when they decide that they want to kind of transition back into knocking on people's doors. The preaching work that they said God had entrusted them to do that they hadn't been doing for years and years and years and years and years. Because of COVID, well, once they try to get back into that so that they can go back to saying, well, we're the only ones doing it. Well, if you got half your congregation not even comfortable to attend the meeting, then how many people do you think you're going to get to be out knocking on doors? Right? Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be out looking like the Mormons. When you see Mormons out, there's like two of them. It's just a couple of them. They're out riding around on their bikes so they can make up more ground, right? It's just the two of them, right? They don't got a whole car group of people. They got to do it all themselves. So you got a couple of Mormons walking around with the, white shirts and backpacks. Well, that's going to be Jehovah's Witnesses. It's apparently, when they decide they want to go back to door-to-door preaching, well, you ain't got nobody that's going to want to go out and do that. Half of them are still watching it on Zoom. All right, that's one half. Then you got a bunch of people there that are really, really old or elderly. And then you got a whole bunch of really little kids. So the people that are going to be doing the bulk of the door knocking, what are you going to do? Have like the Mormons, have two Jehovah's Witness missionaries going door to door with bikes and backpack and a name badge on? I mean, they got to think of something. They got to think of something, because people ain't leaving the comfort of their home. If Watchtower didn't get all those people from Zoom to the congregation when they first opened up the hall and first made it such a big deal, well, as time goes on, watching the meeting on Zoom is going to be more and more popular, right? They could have the opposite effect of what they want to happen. And what they want to happen is for more and more people to stop watching on Zoom and start attending. Well, it could be the opposite. More and more people may find it way more convenient to them and their schedule to just watch it on Zoom and not have to go out of their way to physically attend the meeting or to even put their health at risk, right? As far as COVID is concerned. So that's a problem because Zoom is now probably the number one way of fading. Because see, when other people years and years and years back wanted to fade, or essentially they wanted to stop going to the hall, but they didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Well, they had to like slowly stop attending, or possibly move away and do all kinds of things. Well, no, now if a person wants to fade, all they got to do is hop on Zoom, make sure their camera is off so that there's just a name there on Zoom, hit the mute button, make sure it's muted, turn down your computer, cut on the TV, relax, and watch your Sunday sports. That easy. It's that easy to fade, right? You're watching it on Zoom. The people at the hall don't physically see you. So you could Zoom fade, right? You don't have to fade from the actual hall. You could be on Zoom and slowly start fading. Right. And then also too, as one's, at the hall begin to run into issues, they might have to work. Their job may have changed. A relative may be sick. Anything comes up. Well, Zoom is always right there. There's always that possibility that the few people that Jehovah's Witnesses do have going to the hall, circumstances come up. They start attending on Zoom also. Zoom could end up devouring the majority of the congregation. The only people showing up at the hall would be men who are begging to carry microphones and begging to be given duty so that they feel important. Other than that, when you got meeting versus, physically attending meeting versus Zoom, it's like no contest. No contest. Zoom is going to be better. Can you imagine? I wonder, what is the attendance going to be like at the assembly, right? When you're talking about an assembly, you're talking about all day. Now, would you rather physically get dressed up, get ready, prepare food to pack and take along with you, then go travel somewhere to go and sit for like 5 or 6 hours or however long the assemblies are, all day, sitting there uncomfortable, or you can just watch it on Zoom, right? See, this is what I'm saying, is that there's a lot of things that Jehovah's Witnesses do that were uncomfortable before. The door knocking, all that stuff, it was all uncomfortable. Sitting at assemblies for forever, it was all uncomfortable. But now that you have Zoom here, there's an out. There's a way out. You don't have to worry about being at an assembly all day long. You can just be on Zoom and just cut it off if you want to. The door knocking. No time soon will they be able to force somebody to go knocking on doors, right? Because you got that Zoom exit. So the people who are watching on Zoom, they know if I stay here, they'll never be able to expect me to go door to door again. Because if I don't want to attend the meeting, I'm not going to want to be out in the public knocking on people's doors and worrying about dogs chasing me and all kinds of things like that, right? So Zoom is going to be an issue moving forward for Jehovah's Witnesses because let's just face it, people don't really want to go to a Kingdom Hall. They're more so forced to go to a Kingdom Hall. It's more so pressure, peer pressure, shunning. If I don't go to the Kingdom Hall, I'll get shunned. You're not going to the Kingdom Hall because all Jehovah's Witnesses have these great choirs. They don't have choirs. They got just random people who stand up and sing and sound horrible. Right? I mean, horrible. They sound horrible. And some of these people are trying. But they sound god awful. And it's not like they have just the best preaching in the world, the greatest speakers, and no. These people sound horrible. Like these are people who a minute ago they were washing windows and now they're up on a platform with a microphone. And they're up on that platform with a microphone just because they've been there long enough to where, hey, we need somebody to give this talk. And oftentimes they sound like they are. They're not professional speakers. It don't matter if they've been giving talks since they were 6. They're not good at it. They sound horrible. So the music is bad with Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's get that straight. There ain't a church that I know of that has a choir worse than the Jehovah's Witness general audience singing. So the music is bad. The public talk is bad. I mean, I don't know how many public talks I've been to have all been bad. Since I was younger, they were bad. The door-to-door activity that oftentimes they do after meetings, that's not fun either. Going out and knocking on strangers' doors, trying to give them magazines, that's not fun either. Standing outside next to carts and whatnot, that's not fun. Right? So when you think about it, compare it to churches that have nice choirs, that have pastors that, they've been to school and they've had training and they're actually good at preaching. People actually want to go to see that. For Jehovah's Witnesses, it's a cult, right? So they use shunning to force people to come. They're not coming for the joy of it. They use shunning to get people to come, and Zoom is going to alleviate a lot of that. You can't shun somebody watching the meeting over Zoom, whether they're actually watching it or not. You can't shun someone who's on Zoom when Watchtower is offering that as an option. And COVID, to our knowledge, isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So this is an issue for Jehovah's Witnesses, because anybody who has questions, anybody who has doubts, anybody who just doesn't feel like going. I'm talking about husbands and wives, right? Where you got a husband who's awake, but his wife isn't. Oh, honey, I got a headache. Oh, the fever. Oh, the pain. I got to stay home, right? I'll just watch it at home. I'll watch Zoom at home, right? And eventually what you're going to end up having is you got one spouse at the hall who's believing, and then the one spouse that's awake is relaxing, They got Zoom on, but they got the volume turned down. They got the TV on. I never have to go back to having to sit through those nonsensical meetings again. Right? So this is a problem that Watchtower didn't have before. I know from experience, right? Because I've looked into it. And I spoke to someone who is a current JW. And they told me like half the congregation is on Zoom. Now, people end up getting disfellowship. People end up getting reproved. All kinds of things happen because Jehovah's Witnesses they don't love being in front of the mirror, the organization. But the organization don't mind throwing an individual member under the bus and shunning them and public reproves and all that. Well, what happens when all this stuff is going on and these people have the option of just sitting at home? You're going to have more people at home, and it's easier to wake up and leave a cult from home than it is around all that cult-like pressure having to physically be in the hall. So Zoom, that's going to be a lot of people's escape from Watchtower. And it's an escape that a lot of us didn't have years ago. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. You have it good. You who are awake, but you got family that's in and you don't want to be shunned, you have it better than any Jehovah's Witness ever had in the history of the organization, because you got Zoom. You ain't got to go. You know what I've been thinking, I don't COVID is serious and I don't really want to risk it. So I'm going to start watching it on Zoom. I'm going to take advantage of what the organization is providing with regards to Zoom. You don't have to go anymore. None of you who are awake, whether you got your families in there or whatnot, you got the excuse now to watch it on Zoom. If there are people, the only people who probably may have an issue is, really young people and their parents are physically attending. But I'm talking about anybody who is an adult, possibly even a teenager, can hey, I'd rather watch it on Zoom, and I don't want to physically be there because I don't want to put my health at risk. And you got it better. You have it better than anybody else in the history of the organization that has been trying to fade. Have you been to what your Jehovah's Witness, your cult relatives are going to say? Have you been to the meeting? How was the meeting? What about the meeting? Well, I've had about 5 heart attacks. Don't tell me about that. What about the meeting? Have you been to the meeting? What about the meeting? Your Jehovah's Witness relatives that are just all about the meeting. That's all they want to talk about. Well, you got Zoom. You ain't got to physically go. I watched it on Zoom. They can't disprove that. Before, when you said that you went and you didn't go, they could call, people talk, they could find out you ain't been to the hall. You ain't been to the meeting. Now, they cannot disprove whether or not you watch it on Zoom. All you got to do is say, yeah, I watched it on Zoom. They can't prove you didn't. They can talk all day and night. This is a cult. It's a small world. They talk to everybody about everybody's business. They can't find out about whether or not you attended or not. It's kind of hard to gossip about somebody And they ain't even at the hall. They're watching it in Zoom. Zoom is your way out. Zoom is your way out from the gossip. How you gonna gossip about somebody you can't see? Zoom is your way out from your relatives asking you how you been to the meeting. Zoom hopefully doesn't go anywhere, and I don't think it is, because that's dangerous for Watchtower. Well, let's get rid of Zoom. Well, what about half of your members who are watching it from Zoom? You could lose half of them doing stuff like that. Half of them going to say, oh, y'all going to put our health at risk now? Oh, this is supposed to be a loving organization? Oh, I thought you guys said you were a loving brotherhood. Well, why would you get rid of Zoom if Zoom is protecting our health? See, Zoom, I don't know that it would be hard for them to get rid of it without losing more members than they've already lost. So Zoom should be an option for a long period of time here going forward. And, it's a very nice option to get away from going to the meetings. So anybody that's going to the meetings that doesn't believe it, hey, I would not attend so regularly that they start expecting you to attend versus go to Zoom. You want to keep that Zoom option open so that you can just fade easily. You could be away from Jehovah's Witnesses for the next 20 years, but they don't know. All they know is they see your name on Zoom and you off doing something else. You done drove off somewhere. You know what I mean? You done left the house, right? So comment down below. Let me know what you think. Have you had an issue with the police pulling you over for because they felt like it? Reasonable suspicion is a vague phrase that they use for pulling people over, stopping people in neighborhoods, whoever in the world that they feel like, and harassing them. So 937-789-4029, we'll discuss Zoom or bad experiences you had with the police. And hopefully a lot of people take advantage of Zoom and get away from that cult. Comment down below. XWall Kill Bethelite signing out.